First contact. In the year 2157, an enormous alien vessel emerged from the depths of space, casting an ominous shadow across the Earth. The ship, a sleek behemoth of unknown alloys and pulsing with an eerie green light, settled into orbit above the planet. Panic gripped the nations of the world as they scrambled to understand the intentions of these extraterrestrial visitors. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, an emergency session was convened. World leaders and military generals gathered to formulate a response to the alien presence. Amidst the chaos and uncertainty, a decision was made. A team of diplomats and military leaders would attempt to establish contact with the aliens and discern their purpose. The team boarded a specially equipped spacecraft and ascended into orbit. As they approached the alien vessel, a sense of awe and trepidation filled the crew. The ship dwarfed their own, its hull etched with intricate patterns and glowing with an otherworldly energy. Suddenly, a holographic screen materialized before them, and the visage of an alien being appeared. Its features were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. A chitinous exoskeleton, multifaceted eyes, and a mouthful of razor-sharp mandibles. The alien spoke in a guttural language incomprehensible to human ears. The ship's advanced translation software quickly deciphered the message, and the words that followed sent a chill down the spines of all who heard them. People of Earth, we have come to claim your world as our own. Your species has proven itself unworthy of the resources and potential of this planet. You have two choices: submit to our rule and serve us, or be annihilated. You have 24 hours to make your decision. The ultimatum hung in the air like a suffocating fog. The human delegation, stunned and horrified, attempted to negotiate, to plead for more time and understanding. But the alien leader remained impassive, its multifaceted eyes gleaming with a cold, unwavering resolve. As the meeting drew to a close, the weight of the alien's words sank in. Earth had 24 hours to decide its fate, submission or destruction. The delegation returned to the surface, their hearts heavy with the burden of the news they carried. In capitals around the world, the message was delivered, and the gravity of the situation became clear. Humanity stood on the brink of its greatest challenge, facing an enemy far more advanced and ruthless than any it had encountered before. As the clock ticked down, the people of Earth grappled with the impossible choice before them. Some called for immediate surrender, believing resistance to be futile. Others, however, refused to bow down, their spirits kindled by the fires of defiance and the unbreakable will of the human spirit. In the face of this existential threat, a glimmer of hope emerged. Whispers of a secret project, long hidden from the public eye, began to circulate. Rumors of advanced technologies and powerful weapons, developed in anticipation of just such a crisis, spread like wildfire. As the 24-hour deadline approached, humanity stood united, ready to face the unknown and fight for its right to exist. The stage was set for a battle that would determine the fate of not only Earth but the entire human race. The first contact had been made, and the gauntlet had been thrown down. In the coming hours, the true strength and resilience of humanity would be put to the ultimate test. The future, uncertain and fraught with peril, hung in the balance, waiting to be claimed by those with the courage and determination to seize it. Unlikely heroes. As news of the alien ultimatum spread across the globe, chaos erupted in the streets. People fled their homes, seeking shelter and safety in the face of an uncertain future. Governments struggled to maintain order, their resources stretched thin by the scale of the crisis. Amidst the turmoil, a group of unlikely heroes began to emerge. They were individuals from all walks of life, each possessing unique skills and knowledge that would prove invaluable in the fight against the alien threat. Dr. Lena Sorensen, a brilliant astrophysicist, had long been fascinated by the possibility of extraterrestrial life. When the alien ship appeared, she knew that her expertise would be crucial in understanding their technology and finding a way to counter it. With a team of hand-picked scientists, she began to work tirelessly, poring over the data collected from the alien vessel. Sergeant John "Reaper" Mallory was a battle-hardened soldier, a veteran of countless conflicts. When the call came for those with combat experience to join the resistance, he didn't hesitate. He knew that his skills would be needed on the front lines, and he was ready to lay down his life to protect his fellow humans. Zara Khalid, a master hacker, had always lived on the fringes of society. Her talents had often brought her into conflict with the law. But now, in the face of an alien invasion, her skills were more valuable than ever. She worked to infiltrate the alien ship systems, seeking weaknesses and vulnerabilities that could be exploited. As the unlikely heroes came together, they formed a tight-knit team, bound by a common purpose and a shared determination to save their world. In secret bases and underground bunkers, they worked around the clock, developing new technologies and strategies to counter the alien threat. Dr. Sorensen and her team made a breakthrough, discovering a way to modify human weapons to penetrate the alien ship's advanced shielding. Sergeant Mallory began to train a new generation of soldiers, teaching them the tactics and skills they would need to survive in the coming battle. Zara, meanwhile, continued her work, delving deeper into the alien ship's computer systems. As she explored the vast network of data, she stumbled upon a chilling revelation. The aliens had done this before. Earth was not their first conquest, and it would not be their last. Armed with this knowledge, the resistance grew more determined than ever to stop the alien invasion. They knew that the fate of not just Earth, but countless other worlds, rested on their shoulders. As the 24-hour deadline drew to a close, the aliens made their move. Swarms of smaller ships poured forth from the mothership, descending upon Earth's major cities like a plague of locusts. The first wave of the invasion had begun, and the resistance sprang into action. In the streets, Sergeant Mallory and his team engaged the alien ground forces, their modified weapons proving effective against the enemy's advanced armor. In the skies, human fighter pilots engaged in dogfights with alien craft, their skills and bravery put to the ultimate test. Back in the command center, Dr. Sorensen and Zara worked frantically to coordinate the resistance efforts. They knew that every second counted, and that the slightest misstep could spell doom for all of humanity. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the resistance was outmatched. The aliens' technology was simply too advanced, their numbers too great. But even in the face of overwhelming odds, the unlikely heroes refused to give up. They had started this fight, and they would see it through to the end, no matter the cost. For in the hearts of every human there burned an unquenchable fire, a spirit that refused to be extinguished. And it was this spirit that would carry them through the darkest of times and lead them to victory against the greatest threat they had ever faced. Hidden strengths. As the war against the alien invaders raged on, the human resistance found itself pushed to the brink. The enemy's superior technology and seemingly endless numbers had taken a heavy toll, with cities reduced to rubble and casualties mounting by the day. But even in the face of such overwhelming odds, the humans refused to surrender. They dug in their heels, determined to fight to the last man, woman, and child. And in the crucible of battle, they began to discover hidden strengths and abilities they never knew they possessed. In the ruins of a once great metropolis, Sergeant Mallory and his team found themselves cornered by a squad of alien shock troopers. With ammunition running low and hope all but lost, they prepared to make their final stand. But just as the aliens closed in for the kill, something unexpected happened. Private Sarah Nakamura, a quiet and unassuming soldier, stepped forward. Her eyes began to glow with an ethereal light, and a shimmering force field sprang into existence around her and her comrades. The alien weapon's fire bounced harmlessly off the shield, and the shock troopers recoiled in confusion. Seizing the moment, Sergeant Mallory rallied his troops and launched a counterattack. With Private Nakamura's newfound abilities, they were able to turn the tide and emerge victorious against seemingly impossible odds. Similar stories began to emerge from battlefields around the world. Ordinary humans, pushed to the limit, were awakening latent abilities that had lain dormant for generations. Some could manipulate energy fields, while others possessed superhuman strength or speed. Still others found they could communicate telepathically or even control the minds of their enemies. As word of these developments reached the Resistance leadership, Dr. Sorensen and her team scrambled to understand and harness these new powers. They theorized that the stress and trauma of the war had triggered a long-dormant evolutionary response, unlocking the full potential of the human genome. Working tirelessly, they developed new training programs and technologies to help the awakened humans master their abilities. Slowly but surely, the tide of the war began to turn. The once invincible alien invaders found themselves facing a new breed of human warrior, one that could match them blow for blow. But the aliens were not about to give up so easily. They, too, had their own hidden strengths and secrets. Zara, still working to infiltrate the alien computer systems, uncovered a terrifying truth. The invaders were not a single race, but a conglomeration of conquered species, enslaved and forced to fight for their masters. At the heart of the alien empire was a single, all-powerful entity known only as the Overmind. It was this being that had directed the conquest of countless worlds, and it was this being that now sought to add Earth to its collection. Armed with this knowledge, the Resistance knew that simply defeating the alien forces on Earth would not be enough. They had to strike at the heart of the enemy, to take the fight to the Overmind itself. But to do that, they would need more than just their newfound powers and abilities. They would need a plan, a strategy that would allow them to penetrate the alien defenses and strike a decisive blow. As the war entered a new phase, Dr. Sorensen and her team worked around the clock, developing a daring plan that would take the fight to the enemy's doorstep. It was a plan that would require sacrifice, bravery, and an unwavering commitment to the cause of human freedom. The hidden strengths of humanity had been revealed, and now it was time to put them to the ultimate test. The fate of the world, and of all the worlds that had fallen before, hung in the balance. And the humans, once dismissed as weak and primitive, were ready to show the galaxy what they were truly made of, turning the tide. With the knowledge of the Overmind and its control over the alien forces, the human Resistance knew that they had to act fast. Dr. Sorensen and her team had developed a plan, but it was one that would require a level of coordination and precision that had never been seen before. The first step was to gather intelligence on the location and defenses of the Overmind stronghold. Zara and her team of hackers worked tirelessly to penetrate the alien computer systems, seeking any scrap of information that could give them an edge. Meanwhile, Sergeant Mallory and his team began to train a new generation of awakened humans, honing their abilities and teaching them to work together as a cohesive fighting force. They knew that the battle ahead would require every ounce of strength and skill they possessed. As the preparations continued, the Resistance received a shocking piece of news. The alien forces had begun to withdraw from Earth, pulling back to their mothership in orbit. At first, the humans were elated, believing that they had finally driven the invaders away. But Dr. Sorensen and her team knew better. They realized that the aliens were preparing for a final devastating assault. The Overmind had grown tired of the Resistance and was ready to wipe humanity from the face of the galaxy. The Resistance had to act fast. They launched a series of coordinated attacks on key alien outposts and supply lines, hoping to disrupt their plans and buy themselves some time. At the same time, they began to put their own plan into motion. A strike team, led by Sergeant Mallory and composed of the most powerful awakened humans, was assembled. Their mission was to infiltrate the alien mothership and destroy the Overmind, cutting off its control over the alien forces. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. But they also knew that it was the only way to ensure the survival of the human race. And so, with heavy hearts and steely determination, the strike team set out on their final mission. As they approached the alien mothership, the strike team found themselves facing a gauntlet of defenses. Swarms of alien fighters poured from the ship's hangar bays, while powerful energy weapons lashed out at the human vessels. But the humans were not about to be deterred. With their awakened powers and advanced technology, they fought their way through the alien defenses, taking losses but never faltering in their resolve. Finally, they reached the mothership's hull. Using cutting-edge breaching pods, they blasted their way inside, ready to face whatever horrors awaited them. What they found was beyond their wildest nightmares. The interior of the ship was a twisted labyrinth of organic and mechanical components, pulsing with an unholy energy. And at its center, they found the Overmind itself. It was a monstrous thing, a pulsating mass of flesh and metal that seemed to fill the entire chamber. Its malevolent presence pressed down on the strike team like a physical weight, threatening to crush their very souls. But they would not be cowed. With a roar of defiance, Sergeant Mallory led the charge, his awakened powers blazing like a supernova. The rest of the team followed, unleashing their own abilities in a dazzling display of human courage and determination. The battle was fierce and bloody, with the Overmind lashing out with all its might. But in the end, it was no match for the combined strength of the awakened humans. With a final, desperate blow, Sergeant Mallory struck the creature down, and the alien forces throughout the galaxy suddenly went silent. The tide had turned, and humanity had emerged victorious. But the cost had been high, and the scars of the war would linger for generations. As the survivors emerged from the wreckage of the mothership, they knew that the world they had fought for would never be the same. But they also knew that they had proven something to the galaxy and to themselves. They had shown that the human spirit was unbreakable, that even in the face of the greatest odds, they would never give up. And as they looked to the stars, they knew that this was only the beginning. For the first time in history, humanity was truly united, ready to take its place among the great civilizations of the cosmos. The future was theirs to shape, and they would face it together as one. Final showdown. With the destruction of the Overmind, the alien forces were thrown into disarray. But the human resistance knew that their victory was far from complete. The remnants of the alien army, now leaderless and desperate, were still a formidable threat, and there was always the possibility that another Overmind could rise to take the place of the one they had destroyed. The resistance knew that they had to act fast, to press their advantage and drive the aliens from the solar system once and for all. And so they began to plan for the final showdown. Dr. Sorensen and her team worked around the clock, analyzing the data they had gathered from the alien mothership. They hoped to find some weakness, some vulnerability that they could exploit in the coming battle. Meanwhile, Sergeant Mallory and his team began to assemble a massive fleet, drawing on every ship and every soldier they could muster. They knew that the coming battle would be the largest and most brutal of the entire war, and they were determined to be ready. As the preparations continued, the resistance received word that the alien forces were gathering for a final assault. They had pulled back to the edge of the solar system, where they were massing their ships and weapons for one last desperate attack. The humans knew that this was their chance, their one opportunity to end the war once and for all. And so, with a sense of grim determination, they set out to meet the aliens head-on. The two fleets met in the cold void of space, the human ships facing off against the alien armada. For a moment, there was silence, as both sides sized each other up, looking for any sign of weakness or hesitation. Then, with a roar of engines and a blaze of weapons fire, the battle began. The human ships, armed with the most advanced technology and powered by the awakened abilities of their crews, tore into the alien fleet with a fury that had never been seen before. The aliens fought back with everything they had, their ships and weapons still formidable despite the loss of the Overmind. The battle raged for hours, with both sides taking heavy losses and the wreckage of destroyed ships littering the battlefield. But the humans would not be denied. They fought with a courage and determination that astonished even themselves, their awakened powers blazing like the stars themselves. And slowly, inexorably, they began to push the aliens back. As the battle reached its climax, a new threat emerged. A massive alien ship, larger than any the humans. A new era. As the dust settled on the final battle, the true scope of the human victory began to sink in. The alien fleet had been shattered, its remnants fleeing into the depths of space, The solar system was free, and the threat of the overmind had been eliminated once and for all. But the cost had been high. The Earth lay in ruins, its cities reduced to rubble, and its population decimated by the long years of war. The awakened humans, once the greatest hope for victory, were now viewed with suspicion and fear by many of their fellow survivors. And yet, even in the face of such challenges, the human spirit remained unbroken. With grim determination, the survivors began the long, hard process of rebuilding. Dr. Sorensen and her team turned their attention to the task of healing the world. They used their knowledge and technology to cleanse the land and air of the toxic residue left behind by the alien weapons. They worked to rebuild the shattered infrastructure, to provide food, shelter, and medical care to the suffering masses. Sergeant Mallory and his soldiers, meanwhile, took on the task of maintaining order and security. They knew that the end of the war did not mean the end of all threats, and they were determined to protect the fragile peace that had been won at such a great cost. As the weeks turned into months, and the months into years, the world began to heal. Cities were rebuilt, and new communities sprang up in the place of the old. The awakened humans, once feared and mistrusted, began to find their place in the new society, their unique abilities put to use in the service of the greater good. And as humanity looked to the stars once more, they did so with a new sense of purpose and unity. They had faced the greatest threat in their history, and they had emerged victorious. They had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, a species capable of standing toe-to-toe with the greatest powers in the galaxy. The first steps were tentative, as the newly formed Earth-Space Alliance began to explore the reaches of the solar system. They established outposts on the Moon and Mars, and sent probes to the distant reaches of the outer planets. But they knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and filled with wonders and dangers beyond their wildest imaginings. And humanity, united and strong, was ready to face them all. As the first human ships set out into the void, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire species, the survivors of the war looked to the future with a sense of hope and determination. They had fought for their right to exist, and they had won. Now they would fight for their right to thrive, to explore, to discover. The war had changed them, had forged them into something new and powerful. And as they looked to the stars, they knew that nothing would ever be the same again. For better or for worse, humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and there was no turning back. The end of the war marked the beginning of a new era, one filled with endless possibilities and untold challenges. And humanity, tempered by the flames of conflict and united by the bonds of shared struggle, was ready to meet them all head-on. They had fought for their survival, and they had emerged victorious. Now they would fight for their future, for the right to carve out their own destiny among the stars. The galaxy beckoned, and humanity, at long last, was ready to answer the call.